Right. Good morning. We've been having a great conversation about the power of introspection, and that this time of year really lends itself well to that. And that with healthy introspection, we tend to make different decisions throughout our life. So we're going to start seated to just be in kind of that meditative position of the upright spine. And they've done some really interesting studies that show that sitting upright and meditating is different than, say, what you get when you're in Shavasana or your yogic sleep. Valuable, both of them, because you get that spinal decompression and other stuff when you're laying down, but that there's an actual kind of shift in the brain when you come into a seated position. That does not mean that you have to be cross-legged or in half lotus or whatever that is. I can't do it. I know one of us can. But you could even take, one leg out to the side, or maybe you've got both legs out in a straddle. The key here is that I want to feel my sits bones, those little bony protuberances in the butt, and I want to root and rise from there. And I'm rising through kind of my little top knot here, not lifting the chin. So I'm trying to find as much spine neutral as I can with, I hope, a lovely little kind of gentle contraction around the core. I think it's kind of a little waistband here. And the rib cage is floating above that. The shoulders are sliding down the back. And I'm hoping you can find kind of a weeble wobble feeling in the head. If at any point this becomes uncomfortable for your joints or something, just come out and keep joining us in your attention while seated. We're going, or while laying down or whatever you're doing. We're going to come into a few points of introversion that help us here on the mat. You can also use them when you're out grocery shopping. We're going to take just the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. And when you connect that there's a presence, a tuning in. And then you soften the rest of the tongue and the jaw, and this says non-striving. There's nothing to accomplish here. You can add your soft ujjayi breath. And you have the option of either closing the eyes, which I think makes introversion the easiest. When you turn your gaze up and in, like you're kind of trying to look behind the center of the forehead. Or throughout our practice at any time, you can have the eyes open in a soft drishti gaze. That's D-R-I-S-H-T-I. It's like a soft daydream-like focus. So the eyes are open, but they are not moving around looking for detail. As you begin to observe the breath rising and settling, do you notice? Sometimes just paying attention to our breath will cause a beautiful, deepened breath wave. What a gift. Do you notice any particular sense of your physical self today? Do you feel tired? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel fellow practitioners around? What is your emotional stance today? It's so wonderful to just have a moment to tune in and get to know it, know our own material in this moment. And of course, as all things, it will continue to evolve. The next few breaths, simply seeking the pause between the turns of the breath. One of my favorite ways of staying mentally present with my breath is asking, is there more? Is there more? Inhale, is there more? Exhale. We'd love the breath to become as slow and deep as possible. A couple more rounds of this stillness and deep awareness of self. Notice thinking, return to breath, attention. Remain seated for a few more moments as we add some movements. We're going to simply, on our inhale, take the belly and rib cage forward and then to the left, and then back and to the right. This is called a Sufi grind. It's popular in Kundalini yoga. And we're interested in seeing if we can get our rib cage to kind of make a circle. So on that back, you might be almost kind of making a little bit of a cat back. Right? And on the forward, you might be making almost a little bit of a cow pose. So I'm not just swiveling and stirring the sky with my torso. I'm actually circling the rib cage. This is the counterclockwise. In a lot of cultures, this is the unwinding sequence. This is how you unwind patterns, thought forms, belief systems. So if there's anything you're kind of ready to ditch, let that go right now. I'm gonna let go fear of the unknown. Yeah. All right, the next time you are forward, nice long inhale in reverse direction. Exhaling, taking it right, and back, and left. And you can marry the breath with the movement or not, whatever feels right to you. So if you're marrying it, it might be inhaling in the forward, exhaling in the back part of that circle. But maybe you're wanting to move faster in the breath loop. This is considered the building sequence. So if there's any kind of thought form pattern that you'd like to build here, this would be a good time to be thoughtful of that. I was mentioning before our practice began that one of the values of self-awareness, self-reflection, and witness mode is that we then notice what's going on in ourselves and we're able to make better, more conscious choices. Like, okay, I'm not going to eat the whole chocolate cake. I'm not going to have that third glass of wine, or whatever it might be. So what's your intention? What pattern or thought form would you like to fertilize? A couple more rounds. And then coming to a upright position. Notice if you've cultivated any shift in your systems just from this simple breathing, presence, and movement. Maybe you feel a little tingly, maybe something more alive. Now we're going to come off of our object of support. I like extending my legs and straightening and then whacking my back leg against the floor, flexing, pointing, and rolling through the ankles. And then I'm going to roll forward onto hands and knees. Excuse me. And we're going to come into a little cow cat to our first expression of downward facing dog. Now maybe you feel like you need some wrist rolling. I remind you, this is your practice. So as you hear things from your body, take note and take action whenever you can. It might differ from what I'm offering. Go for it. And traditionally, we teach this so that you are inhaling on the cow pose, heart drawing forward. And I love that last bit of inhale and how it stretches through the diaphragm and sternum. Exhaling, cat pose, raising spine to sky. But you can always reverse it too. Sometimes in cat pose, people really crave a little side to side movement. If you do that, if you take your ribs, for example, to the left, maybe take your head to the right and look behind you. So you're really creating some nice lubrication through the spine. And whenever you feel ready, let that core power and breath rise your hips up and back, downward facing dog. So curl the toes under, intelligent hands, we're spreading the fingers, rooting through thumb and index finger pads, and then we're pedaling out those feet. Remember, we never have to have our legs straight in downward facing dog. We prioritize a beautiful long line from hands to hips. Please join me in 3 sighing breaths. If this is too much, you could be in your puppy stretch instead. Drishti gaze between the feet, relax face muscles. One more. Coming down to the knees and then down to your forearms. So you're in knee down, forearm plank. Sometimes it's hard to get the dimension right between our elbows and our knees. So if you're not sure, lay on down on your belly and then just tuck the tailbone and come up. And you should have the right distance that allows you to get a long straight line from knees to head. Yeah, exactly. Good instincts. They were a little close, right? Felt a little funny. That was good. What's it like to breathe here? And it's okay to come out, come back in. But I'm going to ask you, you've got 1, 2, or 3 more breaths with awareness. What is it like to stay soft in the tongue, the jaw, the scalp, the shoulders, the neck? Oh, yeah. When you come out, coming all the way to the belly, and I'm going to invite you to just turn your face to one side, bend your knees, and just sort of windshield wiper the low leg side to side. Now this can be wonderful kind of lubrication movement for the low spine, the knee joints, hips. But if you feel any low back tweak, maybe don't do it, or definitely just do it less aggressively. So I'm going to do a little quadricep stretch. If you know that doing this on your belly does not work, then obviously come up to standing. Otherwise, bring your right forearm across the front of the mat, 90 degrees. Anchor the butt cheeks down. That's really important to kind of anchor the pubic bone. And I'm going to reach back with my free hand for the ankle. Then I'm just going to resettle my forehead to the forearm and witness. I'm going to keep evolving the stretch and my breath here. If you can, let your shoulder blade lean in towards the spine. If you find that reaching for that ankle is just a little too far away, it'd be great to have a strap or a scarf or something. We want to be able to bring the bent knee in towards the straight leg. If you're not getting enough stretch, think about kind of pointing at the wall behind you with your knee, and it should kind of come up off the floor a little. Yeah, see if you've got one more big breath there. Let the breath create the edge for you. And when you feel ready, you'll slowly switch. You'll switch forearms, still anchor through the pubic bone as you reach for your other ankle. And if you are using a strap or scarf, you want to hold as close to the ankle as you can so that the arm is allowed to go straight. And those of you who are quite flexible, you might not have a straight arm because you're bringing that ankle in quite tight to the glute. We're looking for a stretch through the quadricep. You might feel some right around the connections above the knee joint. Again, as long as there's no pain, a good deep stretch in some of these connections is great. See if you've got another breath or two, if that feels perfect in your body. When you release, you might once again kind of windshield wiper your legs, and then we're going to come into another round of forearm plank. And maybe you're still on your knees because that felt great and that felt like plenty. Maybe you're coming onto your feet. If you're on your feet, a reminder that It's key that you engage your thigh bones towards the sky and squeeze the inner thighs towards each other. That should create a lot of stability. You know, maybe you can even hop your feet off the floor because you're so in your core. Maybe you can release 1 foot at a time. Maybe you want to shimmy a little side to side. Maybe you want to walk your elbows forward just a little bit. I mean like a 1/2 inch. Hello, quiver, right? Yeah. Let's see if you got 1 more breath in there. Again, maybe you want to stay longer. Don't let me bring you out early. When you come out, release and please come right into your jet airplane. So our fingertips are pointing back and out. Yeah, our upper arms are kind of rotating in towards the spine as our shoulder blades wing in and down. Neck is soft and neutral. I'm reading a love poem under my nose. And I'm breathing into it. If you'd like, you can add on some wonderful arm movements. You can come out and come back in, of course. But you could sweep your left arm forward, right arm back, and then right arm forward, left arm back. And you can feel all the muscular development down the side and back body. Isn't that awesome? When complete, please plant your hands, no wings, no shrugs. That means my elbows are in, my shoulders are back, and press back to your child's pose. Take those knees wide. If you can, keep your arms active and straight, palms active. So I'm getting a really nice stretch through the chest and upper back. Sometimes I'll let the deepest inhale lift me. I can bring my chest and head up, and then the exhale, giving me back to the stretch. Sometimes it feels good to do a little side-to-side movement. So I'm gonna rotate my face to the left, like I'm looking under my left armpit as I let my right armpit come towards the mat, and then reverse it. Great way to get into those shoulders, to know what's there, so we can take great care of them. On your next exhale, tucking the tailbone into your cat back, we're going to return to downward facing dog. We're about to do a little leg raising, and if you know that's just too much on your wrists, shoulders, etc., you could do it in table pose instead. So either way, we check that we are powerfully into our core, and then we slowly take one leg fly and notice. Did you slide to the side? Did you bend an elbow? Did you do something funky? The body should pretty much stay exactly as it was. Let's switch feet and see. Drishti gaze, steady, straight between the feet. And release. Good. I'm going to give you an opportunity for a dog series. You could also do cow cat again, but I'm going to do it on knees down. It's my first chaturanga of the day, so I'm going to come plank on my knees. Exhale, I'm going to just bend the elbows a little bit, like 1 inch, so I can check, but I'm not shrugging or wigging. And then lowering. Good, nice long spine in cobra. We're going to come in and out of cobra a few times. So inhaling cobra, exhaling, softening to the earth. Inhaling cobra, maybe you press a little more with your hands. We never want to lift the pelvis, and we never want to crank our torso back. So we're really elongating and reaching hard. Last time, maybe you turn it into an upward facing dog. And exhaling, press back. Downward facing dog, and then we'll slowly walk the hands back to the feet. Ragdoll, one of my favorite poses. Wonderful chance for decompressing the spine, saying hello to your back body tension. It's a little challenging to breathe here, so we've got to be willful about it. Let's do one more big breath, like a compression and expansion breathing. So on the emptying, squeezing every droplet out. Inhaling, filling. Let's do one more of those. On the inhale, extend halfway up, hands on shin bones. On the exhale, sitting to chair or bar stool. You might lift the toes up to really feel the rootedness of the base of the big and the pinky, and then you could replace them. You could also play with coming up onto the balls of the feet for a little balance. One more breath. How deep do you want to go? Inhaling, rise. Exhaling, resolve in prayer. This is our first standing posture. Just take a moment, settle your breath, notice how you're feeling. We're going to do some nice arm stretches. It's also some side body stretching. And the mistake I see with side body stretches a lot of times is people try to go too far and they're collapsing one side. We don't actually want to feel compressed or collapsed in the shortened side. So as you're ready, inhale, sweep up, and you're going to make steeple hands. So you just kind of intertwine all the fingers except for the two index ones. Unless that bothers you, in which case just keep your hands parallel or use a strap between. And we're going to get nice and long, and then we're going to go to the right. Keep lifting through the left rib cage. And inhaling up. Keep squeezing your arms towards your ears, and then exhaling left. So that one more time, inhaling up. Exhaling right. And pressing out through the left rib cage, both legs staying active. Inhaling up. It's going to feel amazing to let go, isn't it? Exhaling. That left, right ribs are reaching. Inhaling up and exhaling, fold right down. Let the head hang, let the shoulders hang. Opportunity for those that would like to intertwine the hands behind Yoga Mudra. Remember, if you can't get your arms straight, you want to grab a strap or scarf or something between. And releasing those arms towards the floor. On our next inhale, extending halfway up. Exhaling, sitting to chair or bar stool. A couple of breaths here. We would love to have no neck effort. So, if you need to bring your hands into prayer to accomplish that, go for it. One more full breath. Knowing it's our last exhale, how low do you want to go? Looking good. Inhale, rise. Exhaling, prayer hands, left knee lifts. So we're going to do a little lunging, and we're going to do it from the back. If you've got any ankle, toe stuff, and that just feels precarious, you could go to the front and step back. Of course, you could also have hands on hips for more balance. Excuse me, a little funny thing. On your exhale, you want to use that core drawing back to lightly step forward. Yeah, nice. Steer left hip bone back, right hip bone forward, and create our goddess arms or cactus. I think of the saguaro cactuses that we see in Baja all the time. They're so cool. Couple breaths, and I'm going to ask you to kind of pulse it, so sort of come up out of it a little bit, and exhale, dip into your version. I like having my back knee bent. Otherwise, I feel like I actually get an overstretch in my kind of hip flexors, but up to you. One more. One more inhale. Exhaling, we're going to rotate to the left. So we're creating a spinal twist, opening the arms like hug emoji. You can always look out behind you if you want. Inhaling back to center. You can always add a little back bend if you'd like. And exhaling, opening warrior two. So we've got that back foot rotating to a 90-degree plant. Ideally, I'm swiveling or rotating both thighs externally. So I'm feeling that kind of left butt cheek center in towards the center of the mat. Yeah, and where would you like your hands? Maybe they're in platter hands. Your vision might be forward or back or moving around. Our internal gaze is watching the breath. What happens if you use your feet just a little bit like you want to stretch your mat? Inhaling, straighten both legs and reach up. Exhale, lateral stretch, elbow to thigh, and reach that right arm forward towards the front of the mat. On your exhale, I'm going to invite you to do a nice circle of that right arm and then rotate into your straddle forward fold. Yeah. And we're going to go side to side. Side to side straddle is wonderful for helping release through the IT band, sides of the legs and hips, also under thigh groin. Really key is that your knee is not trying to go past your ankle. So if you feel the inner part of your foot lifting or peeling away, you probably need to take your feet wider. You're flexible enough, go for it. From here, I'm going to invite us in another round of either dog series or just holding downward facing dog or taking it from there to child's pose if that's more your speed this morning. Otherwise, rotate, plant those hands, step back, downward facing dog. Sometimes I do a little sighing breath while I'm there just to settle into the pose, check my alignment, let my head go. And inhaling to plank, knees or feet. Exhaling, chaturanga might be 1 inch bend, or maybe it's slow and low the whole way. Inhaling either cobra or upward facing dog. I usually go from cobra to upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Or however you'd like to get us or meet us there, we're gonna end up in ragdoll back in the mat. Nice complete breath, and get a little compression and expansion. And on your inhale, extending halfway out. There's never a need for the legs to be straight here, by the way. Exhaling, sitting to your chair or bar stool. On your inhale, rise. Is there more? Exhaling, resolving prayer. And again, throughout our practice and our flow on this other side, you're following your own breath as much as you can. I know it's challenging because I've got my own timing that I'm talking through. On a long inhale, sweeping out and up. Enjoy the journey. Notice the shoulders, the neck. Exhaling, prayer hands, right knee lifts. Yoga toes. I want that standing leg bent nicely. A lot of buoyancy. Deep breath and powerful core drawing back to help me lightly step forward. We got it that time. Steer that right hip bone back, left hip bone forward. I hope you feel how that just boom puts you in those inner thighs and you're so stable. We'll find our full pose for cactus ornaments, neck soft, radiant hands, pulsing a little, kind of coming up a little, and then settling. If you take that back leg, left leg in this case, into a deep knee bend, you might get an extra stretch through the quad. Maybe that feels great. Inhaling up, exhaling, twist to the right, rotating all the way to look behind you if you can. Nice full breath here. Inhaling, returning center, possible back bend. Exhaling, warrior two. So remember that back foot, 90 degrees. Much of the time we need to deepen our stance. We need to scooch with that front foot a little forward to find our best place. Please check your front leg and foot that they are tracking straight forward. Yeah, you guys look good, nice neutral spines. I love that. There's a tendency in warrior two sometimes in people to strive and reach forward. But in fact, we want to feel powerful and peaceful here. You look like you've got that. One more breath. Inhaling, sweeping up. Exhaling forward to our lateral stretch. Please do not let your butt come out behind in this stretch. It still should be pressing towards the center line of the mat. That right knee should still be aligning with the foot if it's coming in at all. We are stressing the joints and we're also reducing our stability. Yeah, what is it like to reach out beyond your head towards the wall in front of you? Sometimes I like to pulse. I'll kind of bend the arm and reach again. I feel like I'm helping lubricate my whole side body here. And exhale at some point, doing a nice circle of the arm, the ribs, and rotating your right foot so you're in straddle once more. Your choice, of course, of how you want to be here. Maybe you're just holding and breathing. Breathing in an inversion is so powerful. Maybe you're going side to side. I know some of us like the side stretch here where you drop your butt towards one heel and let the other foot, sole of the foot, peel away and toes rotate towards the sky. I don't know what to call that. Sort of like a runner's lunge, but last opportunity, if you'd like to join me in downward facing dog. If you're craving more dog series and flow, go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to be playing with more leg flying. I love the core work that provides. You could also, again, do that in table. You could do that alternating limb extension. I'm instead going to just take my right leg flying, heel flexed, and then I'm just gonna see, can I lift my left hand and replace it? Just a little pat, lift and pat, cool. Then I'm gonna take my left leg flying, neck soft. I'm just gonna lift and pat. Okay, good. And releasing, I'm gonna come all the way to my belly for bow pose. If you know bow does not work for you, it's basically quadricep stretch, but both ankles. If it just doesn't work for you for any reason, again, you could do more cobra or something like that. Otherwise, enter the same way you did with quad stretch, using one forearm across the front, anchoring of the pubic bone, clasping one ankle, keep those glutes engaged as you now reach back for the other ankle. And that's going to protect the low back. Then broadening through your heart space as you wing your shoulder blade sandwich together. And as you're ready, pressing the ankles into the hands. Typically, we do that on the inhale and then kind of soften on the exhale. But feel free to play with it. Keep long through the back of the neck. There's no intention to look forward, which will compress the spine a little bit. Is there any more releasing through the chest available? Maybe spread your yoga toes. One more breath, big belly breath. And release either to your belly or to child's pose. No wings, no shells. Keep noticing. It's in your breath, it's in your body. We took a few moments in the beginning of our practice to notice our emotional stance. It can be interesting to observe, if that's shifted in any way. Maybe it's just our awareness of it has deepened. So I'd love to bring us into a hip stretch. And one option, of course, is you could just, roll onto your back like a log or flip or however you want to do it into reclined pigeon. Another is to come into classic pigeon, which I know I don't teach it that often, so I thought I would offer that this morning. I'll talk through for people who want it, and I'll be offering a little tractioning add-on. What you really want to watch for is you don't want to feel any torque or pull at the knee. If you do, you want to adjust your angle. And a lot of times people have a problem with pigeon because they're trying to crank their foot forward towards the front of the mat. And that's unnecessary and not generally a great idea. A lot of times actually people end up hypermobile then through the SI joints by doing that. So I'm gonna just come to hands and knees and I'm gonna just step my left foot back, bring my right knee forward, and I'm kind of bringing my right foot a little out to the left. So it's gonna end up the heel's gonna end up right under my hip bone almost. So I am not going out to the side and cranking it and then lifting my hips and adding all that pressure, right? So I'm just going to come down into this shape, supporting the head Again, if you're feeling any pull into the low back or if it's not feeling right in your knee, go onto your back body and do the reclined pigeon. If you're comfortable laying your head directly on the floor, you might be able to also then extend your arms forward. And it can be kind of neat to make like a little diamond shape between your index fingers connecting and your thumbs. And wherever we are, I'm going to invite a little breath add-on. And so it's inhaling through the nose, and then it's exhaling, just dumping it through the mouth. Kind of like a sigh, except more aggressive if you want to. You know? Yeah, you can just picture that you're dumping stuff out the top of your head. If you're in classic pigeon pose with me, I'm going to come up onto my hands. And then I'm going to come onto the ball of my back foot and I'm going to raise my thigh to the sky. So I'm going to press my left knee to the sky. And then I'm going to squeeze with my right leg, like I'm trying to pull, I'm trying to like shorten the yoga mat between my legs. And so what I feel is an engagement in the glutes and it kind of pops my hips up. Yeah, so I'm just going to notice that. What does it feel like to traction and relax? Traction and relax. And then experiment. If you can walk your hands back until they're kind of as far back under you as possible, and maybe you can release them into jet airplane. If you do that, and I just do it briefly, and then I'm like, yep, that was good. You get some pretty interesting activity in that glute and hip area. And I'm going to come out by bringing my left knee forward so I can gently release that right leg and give it kind of a bend and straight. Please do speak up if you've got any questions, you're running into something unexpected. Then we'll bring that left knee forward again. Now my left foot is kind of out to kind of right under my right hip bone approximately as I settle my hips down. We're always curious, is this side different? What's knowable? Those of you on your back, you might be making some gentle shifting movements of that knee towards the center line and then back again. On this side, inviting a little bellows breath. If you're kind of stuffy like I am today, that might not feel so great, in which case you might just do the same breath release we did. Otherwise, wrap it in and out through the nose. It's a nice fluctuation of the abdomen, right? We're just getting all this beautiful movement, the diaphragm, and then a big inhale, and let it go. If you'd like to experiment with me with that tractioning, hands come up underneath, bringing the heart forward. There's no intent that my arms are straight, and that's important because I don't want to be pushing my torso back, which can compress the vertebrae, right? I'm drawing my heart forward. I'm going to come onto the ball of that back foot, and I'm going to raise my knee, and then I'm going to traction. I'm squeezing my front leg back towards the other one without moving it, just squeezing, tractioning, releasing. Yeah, and then if you feel like experimenting with the hand release, first walk your hands back a little, feel how that is. And then release the hands perhaps. And is this side different? Do you feel a different musculature ignite? Is it harder? Is it easier? When you're ready, come on out. Whew, yeah, lift up that knee, the hip. And maybe you want to move to child's pose. Please notice, what is your body asking for right in this moment? We're going to be moving on to our back. You'll want your block or a soft block or a folded blanket within reach, both for the tailbone support, sacral triangle, and the bra strap. And I'd love to actually do the bra strap first, just because it takes a little more arranging, and then you'll be able to go easier into the relaxation of our yogic sleep. So a lot of folks I have discovered get a better experience if you're using a block that you've got something to put under your head, whether it's a blanket, cushion, or I'm using my scarf. And if the block is still just too much, then replace it with a rolled up blanket or towel. You've got it right along the bra strap so that when you recline onto it, The wingtips of the shoulder blades are just above it, so that they're allowed to kind of wing in. You can let your arms rotate palms to the sky. And while your head might be lower than your chest, which can be wonderful, you can get a nice little inversion, you can get a nice little throat stretch. Your head is not dropping down and back to the floor. You should not have the back of the neck being like shortened or compressed. And one of the great gifts that yoga gives us is some decompression of the spine. So if you'd like to add the arm movement, it's one arm sweeping towards the sky and then the wall behind you. Arm ideally is karate chop straight, palm facing the center line. You might be pulsing that arm in towards the ear and away. You can even circle it. You know, this movement is more variety than most of us get in our shoulders in a week, right? A lot of people don't even raise their arm above their head the entire day. So this is a wonderful way to keep our shoulders really healthy, to notice, in fact, any differences. Sometimes I'll rotate my head away from the arm, and I find I get just an additional wonderful stretch through the neck too. As we were talking about at the beginning of practice, it's amazing how hard it can be to know our own material, whether that's physically or mentally, emotionally. And so in each of these kinds of stretches, there's such an opportunity to get to know our material and to figure out what is needed and how do I give my body and me what's needed. What's my best tool right now? When that feels complete, and don't let me rush you, by the way, you might just be in heaven. When that feels complete, you're gonna come off by rolling a little to the side. Please don't lift the head directly up. And then we're gonna take the block. And if this is just too hard, you could always use something folded, but firmness is useful here, I find. And we're gonna lift the hips and place it under the sacral triangle. Excuse me. Thank you. And keeping your knees bent for a few moments can provide some wonderful traction through the low back. But even in this position, I still wing my shoulder blades in underneath so that my spine is not directly against the floor. And I think you can feel a difference. And I believe it feels just so much better, and we know it is safer for the spine. What is it like for you to settle into this shape? And perhaps you would like to experiment with the secondary shape here, which is the extending one leg at a time until the body is just sort of draped over the block. If you feel your pelvis sort of dump forward and down when you do that, that's an indicator that the block needs to go further down the body just a little bit until you just feel kind of suspended right there at the hub. All the time in the world to absorb the gifts of this shape. So great how it opens our front body. When you feel complete with that, please come off and maybe bring knees to belly, a little spiral rocking side to side. And from here, I'm going to invite us in happy baby. So we raise our feet towards the ceiling and then take the knees wide. So it's as if we were going to try and draw them down towards the mat to either side of the ribs. I like grabbing the big toe, so I take my middle and index finger between the big and second toe and kind of wrap around. Some people like clasping at the blade of the feet, the ankles. Ideally, we're able to stay connected through the low back. If your butt and your tailbone are curling way off the floor, that's an indicator that you might want to put a strap across the ankles or just slide your hands higher up the leg. Same thing with the shoulders, let them slide down. Let the neck be peaceful. And if you can, please send some nice big belly breaths down in there. I always find it so amazing what the breath does to change the stretch. From here, it can feel really good to come into butterfly, bringing the heels towards each other. Some of you might enjoy a little, again, windshield wiper, bringing one foot towards the head and the other. Some add a little sit-up motion to that. And we're gonna take our feet on the mat, nice and wide, a little horse riding stance, and raising the hips up. If you feel any kind of torque or something funky in knees or hips, try turning your toes out just a little bit rather than trying to have them straight forward. So just nice, natural, whatever angle happens is usually the right one. And you can pulse, you can hold. Whenever you feel complete, a nice slow descent will bring the soles of the feet together and invite the knees to settle towards the floor in a relaxed butterfly pose. Invitation for one last little strengthening pose here, raising the hips for about a minute. And I'm just raising them about an inch up off of the floor. This is a beautiful place where there is absolutely nothing to do but breathe. So scan your body for unnecessary tension or holding, softening in the neck. Oh good, I have some nice ujjayi. You might have those eyes closed again up and in, or the soft open drishti focus. And as you're ready, you might relax the hips to the floor, the knees towards the floor. And then at any point you'd like, just extending the body long in your corpse pose. I'm going to invite us in one last little activity here, abdominal pumping. And it just so good for our emotional and physical centers. So gathering a long inhale as if it's all you would ever do. Exhaling, empty the breath, hold out, and begin by drawing the belly in towards the spine. It's like you're saying, see how skinny I am? And then pushing it towards the ceiling. So you're laying down in corpse pose on your back. Until you need to breathe. Like create a sighing breath after all of that muscular effort. As you do your next round or two, you might fluctuate the intensity. I find sometimes going slower lets me get a more vigorous drawing in and pushing out. And I can feel all these internal stretches in my diaphragm, clavicle kind of area that can be quite powerful. This is complete. Please notice what your body needs. Maybe it needs another knees to belly. Maybe your body's craving a different shape for your yogic sleep. Maybe you're wanting to be on your side body or in child's pose or with your knees up the wall, or if you're at home, you're able to bring your lower legs up on the couch or the ottoman, for example. Prop a bolster up on the block. That can give some lovely freedom to the neck and upper back, opening through the chest. Good time to add back layers. I always say about yoga that it doesn't necessarily fix everything. You know, it's not that we no longer have any tight places or that totally energized if we were tired. But I always like to say, and I believe fully, that we never stay the same. It evolves us. And I love that. No matter what happens on the mat, you will be evolved and different. Most powerfully, I think, much more integrated. Yoga is a wholeness practice when we help weave the fibers of body, spirit, and mind. So as you find your resting shape, scanning the body, noticing if there are any false notes. And once again, turning your gaze up and in, third eye, as you invite a total release of breath control. So invite the body to release holding of any kind. There's nothing to know or do or prepare for. You can invite the body bit by bit to sink, soften, deeply heavy with the gravity. Each breath simply to your own quiet space. The body wisdom heals and nourishes us. Slowly expand your breath. Observe it moving, I hope, not just in the belly, but also the back body. Breath deep and wide, affirming wholeness, affirming goodness, affirming peace. Is there any energy with which you would like to emerge from your practice today? Energy that you'd like to take on with you and also out into the world? So grateful that you each joined me at the mat today. So glad for you that you kept that commitment to yourself, have that tapas or resolve to get there no matter what. Well done. I hope it just makes you feel great all week. Om Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Namaste. Lighted me to notice the same in you. Thanks for being here.